Well, nice to speak to you again.
Yes, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, and you, mate, and you.
Hopefully it's a bit better than what we've had last year. And, how have you been coping during all this madness of lockdown? Let's get that out of the way first.
Oh, God. Yeah, all right. It gets a bit frustrating sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But generally speaking, it's okay. I'm trying to keep above, the frustration line. And I think, we're in a better position than most, you know what I mean? So you have to remember that, really, you know what I mean?
Well, I've seen you've been keeping yourself busy. You've been making funny videos and stuff on social media. They get the time in, so we'll have to do it some way, don't we?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, anything to pass the time and make myself laugh. I know it's not very cool or whatever, but But yeah, I'm kind of more increasingly drawn to just trying to make myself laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll have to these days.
Yeah.
So Sleaford Mods releasing your 6th album on the 15th of January. It's called Spare Ribs. When did you and Andrew start writing this album? I know you put out the sort of not best of collection, but the album that had unreleased tracks, stuff that had never been released on an album.
Yeah,
and that was out last year. So after that, when did you consider recording Spare Ribs?
Well, we kind of had it penciled in for now, you know what I mean? So we already had a few ideas sorted for it. We recorded 5 of the tracks in January, kind of early versions of the tracks, you know what I mean? So we kind of had a rough idea where it was going. But yeah, it was always the plan to release a record in January now. I don't know if we did the right thing by releasing so soon after all that glue, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
it was only a compilation, so it wasn't like a studio album, so to speak. So yeah, the plan was to do it all along, you know what I mean?
Well, I suppose it was a good time to release it because a lot of the subjects you're talking about on the album are obviously very current about lockdown and the situation and how we're coping in the pandemic. Where does the title Spare Ribs come from?
Just from the idea that we are all, dispensable, aren't we? In the face of crisis, the economic model, capitalism, the weakest ones always get destroyed. In a way, I started to see like the economic landscape as a rib cage that could discard 2 or 3 of its rib bones in order to carry on, and that's it's kind of a little bit of a weird way of putting it, but I just thought it was quite apt for the way that we are so utterly disregarded in the face of money, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not it's just so apparent now,
oh God, it's horrible. So yeah, I just wanted to just another way of basically saying that we are pinned down by this need to survive under an economic model, and I know survival is one of the basic traits of humankind, and also chaos is, we're a chaotic animal, aren't we? I guess,
yeah.
But it just makes it even harder, doesn't it? I guess having to adhere to a set of rules that are becoming increasingly more sort of reduced and increasingly more only realistic for a certain sector of the population, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think because of the pandemic, it's opened a lot of people's eyes who would normally sort of look into stuff like that there, and a lot of people are more aware of how governments rule, and that's including here in Northern Ireland as well as England and Scotland and Wales.
How's it in Northern Ireland? How's it over there?
Well, as we talk today, there's new restrictions brought in on top of the other restrictions, so it's, it's going to be made illegal to be out if you don't have to be out, and there's going to be fines brought in. Only a bit like England and Scotland and Wales, but I don't know whether the fines have started to come in England yet, have they?
No, not yet, actually. Not yet, but I would imagine there's going to be more restrictions placed on us. Yeah, it's interesting that you lot can't. Are you not allowed out at night, certain sort of thing, then, or?
Well, there was a curfew just over Christmas. You had to be indoors from 8 o'clock in the evening until 6 in the morning.
Oh, fucking hell!
And that. I think that's been lifted. I don't know, because there's been not many changes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what happens is people in Northern Ireland watch the English news, and then whatever Boris has put in over there, some people think that affects here.
Yeah,
sure. So that's where there's been a lot of confusion.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
But I think from midnight Thursday night, that's when it's going to be made illegal to be out, when you don't have to be out for shopping or essential things, or to go to work if you're a key worker.
Yeah.
The last time I talked to you, I asked you, have you ever thought of bringing anybody else in? And you said you thought about bringing in backing singers for a duet or whatever, but you thought against it. Where in this album, you have Amy Taylor from Amyl and the Sniffers and Billy No Mates. So what changed your mind?
Just that I thought it might be nice to have different voices on it. Do you know what I mean? See if that could work.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be quite a challenge. I wrote More Mindy, but although I was singing the chorus, it just wasn't as good as, it just didn't sound right. You know what I mean? So I just thought, it needed something else. And we were big fans of Billy No Mates. So I'd done a collaboration on her album, her debut album, and she's got the same manager as us as well. So we, I just sort of popped the question for her to do something with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, when I heard the track Morgan Mindy with Billy No Mates, I just thought, that's just a perfect match. Sleaford Mods, Billy No Mates, just fits like a glove, and it's a great track. And I was reading it was voted track of the year by the Quadis. So
yeah, that's quite something, isn't it? I was really, really chuffed with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and her album's great, and
really happy about
that. The track that you're on her album's class as well. So I was wondering what came first. So you were on her album first, and then you asked her to work on Morgan Mindy?
Yeah. Well, I did a collaboration with her, and then I asked her to do something with us. You know what I mean? And I had Morgan Mindy in mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got together, and it took about an hour. Do you know what I mean? We recorded it in January, and then it took about a day to do it again in July, just to tidy it up. So yeah, we got it sorted. It's a really good track. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a class track, and the video's class as well. Sort of looking into the lyrics, but it's about sort of childhood and stuff like that. It's very relatable. I mean, I grew up in a council estate. I know you did, so it's very relatable. Really enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to bring across that experience, kind of, as you get older. Your childhood. I've got kids. I don't know about you, but it's like you feel, you start thinking about your own childhood, don't you? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I thought it made a change from kind of going on about politics all the time as well.
Yeah. When you're putting the albums together, when you're sitting around watching the news, are you thinking of lyrics, writing down lyrics, or do you wait till Andrew present you with the music first, or is it a bit of both?
Bit of both, really. Whatever seems to work on the day, you know what I mean? That we'll generally do. So it can happen either him sending me music, or we bang heads together, or you know, we just improvise from the off, you know what I mean, together sort of thing, face to face. So it's one of those two things, really.
Yeah, well, there's loads of great tracks in the album. What one stand out for you? Because I know there is a lot touching on the pandemic, and there's in fact, the last track's about childhood as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Fish Cakes.
Fish Cakes, yeah, it's a great track. What can you tell me about that? I really enjoyed that one.
Just about growing up in the 70s, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In England, and you know, the kind of you know, being born onto a kind of council estate where all houses look the same, and you know, the school looked the same, the church looked the same, you know, the pub looked the same.
Yeah,
everything looked like the, you know, and then just the kind of featurelessness of it all, and but at the same time you didn't know any better, so it was great, you know what I mean. You know, the struggles of your parents not being able to afford to buy brand new presents at Christmas and all this business, you know what I mean. And I didn't want it to sound like a sob story or anything, but you know, stuff like that I started thinking about that a lot more over the pandemic, you know what I mean.
Well, I'm the same. I mean, as I said earlier, I grew up in the council estate, you know, but looking back, I wouldn't change it for the world, you know.
No.
You know, as a kid and growing up in the 70s, there was always something to do. You're always outside. You're always playing.
Yeah.
Whereas now, if you drive past the council estate, there's no kids about.
No. Everyone's sat in their ass on screens, aren't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I say this all the time. I just can't believe it. Like on Christmas Day, you would have always had kids out in bikes and skateboards and playing.
Yeah.
Nobody about.
Not now, no.
And that's even before the pandemic. Spare Ribs is released through Rough Trade, who had left. Why did they decide to go back and sign with them again?
Because they understand us, you know what I mean? And we had interviews with loads of other meetings with loads of other labels, but they just seem to get what we do, and it was a premature, you know, exit from the label. We had some. We went off the advice of our old manager, and it wasn't right, you know. And we knew this as soon as we left, that it wasn't right. So, you know, we weren't expecting to go back, but we kept good relations with them, and then. You know, we sort of we had meetings with other labels, and it just wasn't right. It was just a bit glossy and a bit businessy like, and people were telling us that we had to strike now because, you know, we weren't going to be around forever, and that's just depressing, you know what I mean. So you know, Rough Trade were more, they just seemed to have a lot more conviction, and so we decided to go back, you know what I
mean. Just in preparation for the chat today, I watched Bunch of Cunts again last night, and which obviously at the end of that you signed this Rough Trade.
Yeah.
And you said something like, well, if it doesn't work out, we'll just clear off.
Yeah.
Now you're back, which is good.
Yes, we're not going anywhere, I don't think. Not just yet anyway, you know what I mean?
So Sleaford Mods came into the, you know, music radar around about 2013 with Austerity Dogs, and you've been quite a big band for a long time. Even Iggy Pop's a huge fan and probably a friend now. How are you finding being famous, and the people treat you differently?
Yeah, you got to watch yourself.
Yeah.
You got to watch. It's not so much people; it's people in the industry.
Right.
Everybody is. Because there's so much ego floating about, you can't really get the measure of anyone. It's difficult to get the true measure of people, and me included as well. So you can't really trust anyone. You know, it all seems a little bit, people are playing each other off constantly. Primarily because a lot of people haven't got very good music. So they have to feel like they have to network, you know what I mean? And you know, it's depressing. So in that sense, yeah, it's weird. But, you know, from outside a point of view, no, people are really kind to you. People are really nice. They always say good things. I think because me and Andrew made it quite late in life, and like, you know, we've really worked at it for a long time. I think people respect that. Do you know what I mean? We haven't been in this game since we were 21, you know. So people kind of respect that, which I think, you know, is really, really nice. But yeah, anybody else in the industry, you got to watch them. You know, there's a lot of wankers. There are some nice people, don't get me wrong. There's some people that you just know are really sound. But generally speaking, it's the majority of, you know, your so-called contemporaries that you've got to keep your eye on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, you did come to the music scene pretty late, and you had a lot of jobs, you know, factory jobs, chicken factory and stuff like that. So how do you feel now that you've actually sort of made it? You know, you're doing well, doing something that you really, really enjoy, and you know, looking back and all that time, how do you feel now about it?
Yeah, it seems such a world away now. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, it just feels like it was years and years ago, when it was I've only been out of work for 7 years,
Mm-hmm.
which I suppose is a long time, but yeah, it just feels like another life almost. You know what I mean?
Different chapter, and you've put out
Yeah,
a lot of records, and those
yeah,
years. Like,
big time.
yeah. How did you feel from the transition of playing small bars and small clubs to playing Glastonbury and supporting bands like the Stone Roses at Wembley Stadium as two guys in a laptop?
Yeah, brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, massive Stone Roses fan. You know, it's like that was just fantastic. Really, really was good. Yeah, it was. It's quite unbelievable. It's like a dream almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just what's it like being on a big stage with just yourself and Andrew and a laptop? I mean, and it's still amazing. It's just so simple, and it's a brilliant idea, and nobody else can copy it. You know, you're not going to see the other guys doing that.
No.
You know, it's quite
Yeah,
unique.
I suppose you're right. Actually.
You know.
Yeah, it's great. It's fucking fantastic. You know, I mean, it all happened by accident, really, in a lot of respects. You know what I mean? Some of it did, anyway. You know, meeting Andrew, the whole thing just seemed to fall into place. You know.
You met Andrew. You heard you were at a club and you heard a remix of "Careless Whisper" by George Michael that Andrew did.
Yeah.
What did that sound like?
Oh, fucking great! It was like really industrial. It was
Was
like, whoop. I was like, this is brilliant. I've got to find out who this is. So yeah, that's when it changed.
Yeah, cool. And Tim Burgess, you know, in my mind, he's not always like the band, always like the Charlatans.
Yeah.
What he's done with his listening parties since lockdown has been amazing. You know, he should be the hero of 2000. You've done a few listening parties, and you're going to do another one soon. Is that right for the new album with Tim?
Yes. Yeah. We're doing one. I think it's on I don't know actually, 20th or something. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Tim's lovely. You know what I mean? He's a really nice bloke. And oh yeah, like you say, the listening parties have been a really positive thing for people, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Once everything calms down, obviously you'll be looking into touring. I'm sure you can't wait to get out back onto the road. But what do you think of the thing? Is there a problem with Brexit and visas for bands touring?
I think there will be, yeah, a little bit, but I think it won't be. I'm hoping that, you know, musicians get granted a kind of creative passport. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll see. You know, it shouldn't be too complicated for us because we don't have any instruments and there's no backline. But for touring bands of 5 or 6, 7 members who aren't necessarily who haven't really got a financial backup, it might be problematic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have any ideas at all when you'll be out on the road?
No.
No, you just can't tell, can you?
No, not at all. We've got a tour planned, but we're not announced that yet. But who knows what's going to happen this year? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if there's gigs by the summer the way things is going.
I know, yeah.
This here was when I was doing a bit of research. I came across this. You had a bit part in the Netflix movie Rebecca.
Yeah.
So how did that come around?
Just because I know Ben a bit, Ben Wheatley. He's a fan of the band, and he did our video for Mork and Mindy.
Mm-hmm.
He directed that. So, but he'd asked me this about a year and a half ago if I wanted to do it. I said, yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? Yeah, without a doubt, I got on board for that easily. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was great.
Yeah. So you're not in the running for the new James Bond or anything like that, no?
Oh God, do you imagine that?
Do you know what you would be perfect in? Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah. Somebody else has said that as well.
Is that right? Absolutely.
Yeah. I met the directors actually at Hammersmith, the gig we did in London last year. Yeah, they're nice blokes, but yeah, who knows? I don't know about, because everybody's dressing like that in England. I don't know about over there.
No, not. Well, do you know something? If it started in England, that will come over here at some stage.
Oh, everybody's got the fucking flat caps on. It's like, oh my God.
It's when they start doing the handlebar moustaches and stuff like that. Or beards. I hate beards.
Yeah.
Well, you've already did a bunch of cunts. Is there any plans to do another film similar with a band?
No, not really. I don't think. I think I'm getting the impression that people, I don't want people to get sick of us. I know we release a lot of records, and I don't want to kind of overkill it. Mm-hmm. So I think after this record, we might take a bit of a longer break. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. So, are there any other plans for 2021, the early part?
No, not really. Just a case of sitting tight and hoping that we can gig soon.
Yeah. Well, Jason, that's all my questions.
Well, it was nice to see you again, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed the chat, and I love the album. By the way, it's great. It's great.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. It means a lot.
Really cool, and hopefully you'll be on the road soon, and you'll be in Belfast again.
Oh yeah, I miss Ireland. I really do, to be honest. It's everywhere. So yeah, hopefully we'll be back over at yours soon, sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. So thanks again, mate, for doing this. I know you've lots on, and I'm sure you're fed up doing Zoom interviews.
No, not at all. It's like you got to do it, ain't you? It's I've done worse jobs. You know what I mean? So.
So have I. All right, mate. Here, listen, take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jason.
Bye-bye.
Right.